as the number 14 seed. North Carolina Tar Heels will take on the 6th seed, the Syracuse Orange, right off the tip. Marek Dolezaj, Anthony Beck. Chance. Long thought about a 3. He'll try the 2 and foul on the play as he dreamed it. Tsar will kick it. Childress off balance. Drains it anyway. A 3-pointer. And Wink opens up an 8-point lead.
Breaking news on CBS Sports HQ with Amanda Guerra. I'm Chris Hassel. The NCAA making it official this afternoon. There will be no fans allowed at the men's and women's basketball tournament. No fans allowed at the wrestling championships in Minnesota. No fans allowed at any NCAA championship this spring.
Yeah, needless to say, this is unprecedented, but it seemed that this is the direction in which this tournament was headed. Now the president of the NCAA tournament issued this statement just within the past half hour or so, coming from Mark Emmert. It says in part, based on their advice in my discussions with the NCAA Board of Governors, I have made the decision to conduct our upcoming championship events, including the Division I men and women's basketball tournaments, with only essential staff and limited family attendance. While I understand how disappointing this is for all fans of our sports, my decision is based on the current understanding of how the coronavirus is progressing in the United States. This decision is in the best interest of public health, including that of coaches, administrators, fans, and most importantly, our student athletes.
San Francisco has followed the lead of neighboring Santa Clara County and banned all gatherings of 1,000 people or more for 2 weeks. That ban will include Warriors games, which means, yes, the other shoe we have all been waiting to drop has hit the floor. The Warriors plan to play tomorrow night's game against the Nets without fans. In a statement, the Warriors said, quote, "We will continue to monitor this evolving situation closely to determine next steps for future games and events. We appreciate the understanding and patience of all of our fans, guests, and partners during this unprecedented time." Now, the Washington, D.C.'s health department has also recommended that events featuring crowds of 1,000 or more be postponed or canceled. The Wizards have 4 home games scheduled through next Friday, including this Friday against the Celtics, so we're keeping track of that. But this may soon be taken out of individual teams' hands. The league's Board of Governors is scheduled to hold a conference call about 90 minutes from now, in which it will discuss how to proceed as the impact of this virus grows.
Still the discussion ongoing here. Ben Taylor, Mark Lindsay, Pat Farrar, the crew chief, talking things over with Billy Donovan and Quinn Snyder. Michael, we don't know what they're talking about.
No, not at all, but it's nice to see the energy back in the building here. Thunder have been on the road for the last week here, folks. And I thought the hardest part of that road trip, now this is my opinion, was the Detroit game. Second night of the back-to-back, Clippers, you didn't play a good game against the Clippers, and all of a sudden you got to hit the road and start an East Coast swing in Detroit on the second night of a back-to-back. And we're not really sure here, folks. We're going to get some information for you as soon as we can find out. But clearly, game right now is a little bit of a delay.
So both head coaches have gone back, and you see the teams heading back to the locker room. The officials now going over to the scores table. Went through warm-ups, players went through starting lineups, both teams, all 10 starters came out, and then the players, coaches, referees conferred and went back into the locker room. All of them, both teams from the bench went to the locker room and waited for the league to either give the green light or the red light on this game, and the official announcement just came that this game has been postponed. So any further information will have to come later on. That is all the information that we have right now that has been disseminated from the league to us here inside the arena. So that
here at ESPN, this astounding and unprecedented story continues to evolve. At halftime with Adrian Wojnarowski, I suggested that we would speak to him soon. I had no idea that it would be this soon. He has just tweeted within the past 2 minutes that the NBA is suspending the season. I say that understanding that as we speak, the game in Dallas is continuing. Ryan Rucco in Dallas, the game is continuing. Ryan, go ahead.
Yeah, Scott, right now, the game is continuing. There was a conference amongst officials during this last timeout, but the action continues, at least for now. It seemed, based on Doris and I just, perusing the tweets from Woj at the timeout, Scott, that these games tonight are going to finish, and then that's where the hiatus will start. You can see right here the reaction from Mark Cuban when he got the news, looking at his phone, and then he went and started to discuss it with members of the Mavericks organization on their bench.
He also alerted the officials that are in charge of this game, so they are aware of that as well, Ryan.
We are obviously in completely uncharted territories, and we are going to get a little more information now from Adrian Wojnarowski, he is with Scott Van Pelt right now, so let's get back to the studio, guys.
Ryan, thanks. And Woj, I turn to you. What can you tell me? How'd this happen?
Well, Rudy Gobert has tested positive for the coronavirus. That was learned in Oklahoma City prior to that game between the Jazz and the Thunder. Right now, the Thunder and Jazz, I'm told, are both quarantined in that arena. And the NBA has made the decision, they have just announced that they are suspending play, finishing after tonight's games. They're going to let tonight's games finish. But starting tomorrow, NBA play is suspended. And then the league is going to use that hiatus to decide their next steps, how they'll go forward. But this is the last night of NBA games for the foreseeable future.
Is it canceled or postponed? I would imagine postponed, that they'll play this game at some point. But Mark Davis was out here. The crew chief, Courtney Kirkland, was not. The second official, Justin Van Dyne, was out here. And then those two officials went back to the locker room. Now Lonzo Ball has just emerged from the Pelicans locker room. This is the first Pelican player that we've seen at all on the court tonight. We are hearing that they're going to make an announcement soon that this game is not being played. But we have not been told that officially. And again, this is the first time we've seen any New Orleans player. The Sacramento players were out here warming up as if they were going to play the game. And then we got word about, 18 minutes ago, Scott, that the Pelicans were being told by members of their front office staff not to leave the locker room. And then we found out that Courtney Kirkland, one of the officials, worked the Utah-Toronto game on Monday. Rudy Gobert of the Utah Jazz, according to Woj earlier tonight, testing positive for the coronavirus, the reason for the Oklahoma City-Utah game being postponed tonight. And so, obviously, that was connected to the reason why the Pelicans didn't want to play the game. And we just told that the game has been officially postponed. In fact, they just announced it to a sparse crowd here, and you can probably hear some of the reaction in the background. So, I don't know what to ask here, Richard, other than I guess this is a former player. I mean, you're ready to play a game, and now you're not.
So
how do you handle it?
I'm going to say this. I was in China earlier this year when people weren't sure whether or not the games were going to go on between the Brooklyn Nets and the Los Angeles Lakers. And there was an uncertainty there, and there's an uncertainty here. This uncertainty, though, I think is for public health, and they're doing the right thing. When one player gets it, we talked about it earlier, it goes throughout the team. You're all touching the same balls. You're drinking the same water. You're all doing the exact same things in a very close, confined area. You're traveling on planes, playing cards. These are things that happen, and everyone gets it. So I understand why the NBA is being
the decision to cancel the men's and women's tournament. What's your reaction?
I'm not sure there was any other reasonable choice, Reese. I mean, we've discussed this throughout the day, including this morning. at 9 o'clock on the ACC network that this is a pandemic, and this is about slowing the spread of this and about flattening the curve of this. And the NCAA has no other choice but to be a responsible global citizen here. No other choice. And so I think all of us that have been discussing this last night and throughout the day today agreed that this was inevitable. And there may be reasons why it took the NCAA this long, but those don't matter right now. It could have been negotiation with their partners, also negotiation and discussion with their insurance carriers, because there is over $1 billion in play here just for the NCAA office, let alone all the conferences and the money that was lost by taking the actions they did today by canceling conference tournaments. That's an awful lot of money that is not going to be flowing through the system right now. But that is secondary to the health concerns that are at issue here. And I think you've struck exactly the perfect tone throughout the day as to why this is so important. This is not just student-athlete health. This is about being a responsible global citizen in this to help stop the spread.
Just tweeted out, MLB is pushing start of the season back by minimum of 2 weeks and will continue to monitor and see when is best to resume. Spring training games canceled as of 4 p.m. Eastern time today. I don't know why they played today. And I saw a tweet that they played meaningless games, and Jake Arrieta actually got hurt in a game that shouldn't have been played. But I was talking to David Cohn today, and I said, well, how long would it take if they shut down spring training? And, you take 2 weeks of spring training off. And he said it would probably take 2 to 3 weeks to revamp back up. So you could say the first 2 weeks of the season are canceled, but you're not going to throw players that are not ready physically out there to go pitch and throw 100 miles an hour, and hitters that haven't swung a bat. So he said that after the strike in 95, or the lockout, they had a 3-week spring training. They expedited. It wasn't 6 weeks. He said, but we didn't have a spring training that year. He said, so we did it in 3 weeks. He said they have had spring training so far. So it's according to how long they're shut down. But the longer they're shut down,
opener for Inter Miami will not happen this weekend. Major League Soccer announced it's suspending the season. CBS 4's Mike Cunha is live at Inter Miami CF Stadium with the latest. Mike.
Yeah, Maribel. So Jorge Mas just a few minutes ago came out, delivered this press conference himself. He made the announcement that the MLS season is on a 30-day hiatus. Now, the plan is to eventually get the season underway at some point, but Jorge Mas says right now, it's just a game. The more important thing is people's lives and human beings and the fan safety as well as player safety. Now, things really ramped up for the MLS last night, obviously, when Rudy Gobert, the Utah Jazz, and the NBA tested positive and the NBA season was suspended. Jorge Mas says he's actually part of the task force for the MLS that helped make this decision. He says it was a very easy decision after consultation with government officials and health officials both here in South Florida and across the country. But moving forward, players will continue to train for the next 4 to 5 weeks as they get ready to hopefully one day open up the season here. But as far as the players are concerned, these guys just traveled to both Los Angeles and DC. I asked Jorge Mas if they were worried about exposure. He said so far in the MLS there hasn't been any player that's tested positive, but what they're doing here is they're making sure there is testing protocols in place for both players and player families as well as their staff. So right now, Inter Miami seems like they're doing everything they can do to not only ensure the safety of the players and the families who have traveled for the last couple of weeks to start the MLS season, but to make sure fans are taken care of as well.
Breaking news continuing here on CBS Sports HQ. The NBA was the first domino to fall. The NHL likely will not be the last, with the NHL just announcing that they are pausing the season due to the coronavirus. The NHL holding a conference call with the Board of Governors at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, and Commissioner Gary Bettman just issuing this statement. Of note, the final paragraph. We will continue to monitor all appropriate medical advice, and we will encourage our players and other members of the NHL community to take all reasonable precautions, including by self-quarantine where appropriate. Our goal is to resume play as soon as it is appropriate and prudent so that we will be able to complete the season and award the Stanley Cup. Until then, we thank NHL fans for your patience and hope that you stay healthy.
Currently, the XFL will not be playing its regular season games. However, all players will be paid their base pay and benefits for the 2020 regular season. All XFL ticket holders will be issued refunds or credit towards future games. The XFL is committed to playing a full season in 2021 and future years.